Steyn. Join me as I do interviews with leaders in the field of artificial intelligence from across the world. We speak about the business relevance of artificial intelligence, and we also speak about the future. Is it to be feared or to be embraced? Please subscribe at my website for updates on future interviews. As businesses across the world scramble to introduce and implement new technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning and robotics, many face the same and daunting challenge around finding the right skilled talent to recruit into their teams. Today's talk is all about recruitment in this space. I am joined by Matt Mallett, who is the Managing Director of boutique recruitment consulting firm AI Unity. He and his team help organizations across the world to find the right talent, and their focus is on artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic process automation, and digital transformation candidates. We had a really great chat with Matt, sharing so many insights. So I welcome you to listen to our conversation. It's really great to have you. Thank you for your time. We are speaking about something so interesting today, about the recruitment around this kind of technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence, robotics. Everyone is scrambling to build AI capabilities, it would seem. And I think worldwide, and most likely particularly in our own market here in South Africa, just software engineering skills is already a bit scarce. But I think for people to find the right kind of both technical and business leadership kind of people in this field must be quite a challenge. So I want to start off with, I think you've got a recruitment history, it would seem on your LinkedIn profile. How did you get into this space?
So when I started my recruitment, like most people in recruitment, I fell into recruitment. Recruitment is not an industry sector that you go to university to study for and then find a pathway to. So I ended up, I was born in South Africa, grew up in Zim, and then left to go and live in London, and then ended up in recruitment. I found myself in there. Somewhat fortunately, I found myself into a recruitment company that specialized in data analytics and business intelligence. So they were very niche, as you have to be when you work in big, very competitive markets like London. But started working in SaaS data analytics recruitment and business intelligence recruitment, working with the large majority of the banking and financial institutions in Canary Wharf, and also consultancies like Accenture and the like on their business intelligence needs. So that was really the beginning of my recruitment journey. And that was 2006, so it's been a fair while since then. And then throughout my experience, I've been recruiting largely these types of individuals and profiles. And as I say, that particular space has now morphed into what is, data science, machine learning, AI, or the next generation of that. So, and that brings me to where we are today.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. You're the Managing Director of AI Unity, based in Cape Town. You also do work globally. Tell us a bit more about the organization.
Sure. So we're a small niche recruitment company. And when we were formed, myself and my two business partners, we made sure that we were only going to be niche within these disciplines. So we've worked hard to kind of create a bit of a branding around the 4IR technologies. We've had clients and business sort of come to us to recruit for things outside of our core focus, which is, as I say, those data engineering, data science, machine learning, AI, digital transformation roles. But we've actually had to push back, which has been hard throughout the kind of evolution of our journey, because that's revenue on the table. But we wanted to be known and continue to strive to be known as a recruiter of choice for these particular disciplines. At least we have a large net that we've built here locally in South Africa, of both candidates and clients, who professionals that fall within these industry verticals, and then also internationally, we've got clients and business relationships and networks pretty much across the globe. So my recruitment experience took me from London in the UK through to New Zealand, through to Australia, and then back here. My business partners are experienced recruitment veterans, call them that, who have run recruitment businesses pretty much across the globe, and they've from the UK originally and have recruiting interests across the world at the moment as well. So it's a really good blend and a really good network that we have established collectively, but that we've worked hard over the course of the last 18, 24 plus months to build really deep qualified inventories. I hate to talk about people as products or inventories, but really deep inventories of candidates within these disciplines. So again, we're small, we're niche. We have a small resourcing team that supports us, and then we augment our team with other specialist resourcing capabilities as and when we need to, according to clients' project needs, to scale.
Okay. Do you find that in this now that we're working, this new reality where organizations realized we can actually work virtually and it works? Because I want to get to the kind of skill shortage topic as we go along, but do you find that a lot of clients still want these kind of engineers to work on site, or do you see an increase of a willingness for them to work virtually?
It's an interesting question, and it's because I think this is something that's been a topic of conversation for a long time. Candidates more and more over the course of the last 3, 4, 5 years have wanted flexible work conditions as almost their number one priority when making a decision as to whether or not to join an organization, if that organization offers those conditions to support their lifestyle needs and wants. COVID-19 threw the whole world into a work from home scenario, and everyone, I think, immediately panicked, or individuals who come from more traditional methods of thinking around how people need to be present and in the office working from 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or whatever it is, in order for them to be happy that they are delivering, have seen that you don't need to be present and in the office in order to be productive. And actually, for some people, it's been proven that the opposite is true. So, for instance, I know of a friend of mine who runs a software development company, and he was just praising his developers because they were sitting at home with not much else to do. They obviously love, they've gone into doing dev because that's their chosen career choice and it's what they love to do. And they were sitting at home with no other option, and so they decided to just work. And some people were just churning out hours of development. Yes. And so, the kind of this, I think the query was, could we rely on our workforce to be productive still without us, managing them or being, watching them on a daily basis? And we've all seen that business has continued and there's been continuity since. So I think it's going to take a while for this idea of work from home to be adopted fully, but it's clearly been shown and proven that there's absolute value. And if anything, if you're a small business and you were paying for real estate fees for offices and the likes, and you've seen that you can minimize those costs and still have productivity and throughput and delivery, you've obviously been given some insight into how you can then change your business model.
Okay, very interesting. What I want to ask you next, there's still a lot of confusion about what AI and machine learning and those kind of things are. Do you find that sometimes when clients come to you and say we need X amount of engineers of X skill level, etc., that the clients themselves don't always know exactly what these people are and what they should do?
Yeah, 100%. And so I think this is where you get the differential between a recruiter and a consultant. So a recruiter is typically someone who puts bums on seats, who would work with large corporates, and it's kind of like they've got those engagements in place and fill to make placements. Where a recruiting consultant or a consultancy in that space would actually educate the client on what their particular needs are. They educate the client on where the market's at, what salaries are at, and sometimes we'll sit there, and often it's happened in my experience, where you go to a client and you sit, and the client will say, we need X because X is leaving. And you say, okay, well, what projects do you have? Where is the business at currently? What's ahead in the process? What is coming up? And then through those kind of investigative querying and probing, you establish that even though X has left, you actually need Y because of what lies ahead. And it's through your consultation to the client and the evolving of that conversation that sometimes, the client realizes actually you're 100% right. So my experience and my opinion is you get a recruiter, and that's, they get a whole bunch of job orders that come through, and they just sit there and they find the candidates and put them, bums on seats. Whereas recruiting consultants will go out to a client and actually help them to understand what their particular need is. As it relates to AI, data science, machine learning, it's such a new space that a lot of companies, a lot of businesses know that they need AI, but they don't quite know what it is. They know they need the kind of magic crystal ball of what AI, we need to be competitive, we need to be amazing, we need AI people. It's like, okay, well, what do you actually need? Talk to me about your business. Let's talk about it from a business context. Because sometimes you don't need, the hundreds of thousands or $1 million of a new technology implementation into your business. You just need to answer a business question. And so I think that's the thing. I think it's the evolving of what AI is. Everyone thinks it's the crystal ball, where, the reality, as you and I well know, is it's the tools that help you to make better business decisions and to be more effective in business.
I've said this on this recording before with another guest. If customers or people I speak with at conferences say they need AI in their business, I would ask them to do what? And that's often where it's a strange stillness in the conversation, if you would. More often than not, in my experience, the problem is something like processes. Processes are not mature. They need process engineering. And they think that AI or robotics process automation, for that matter, can just fix it. So it might even happen, I would imagine, that after your conversations with some clients, they need a process engineer for a while before they even look at this kind of technology. I've dealt with recruiters for many years, and I liked what you say about being a consultant in that space. And like you said, I think a lot of recruitment companies are just churning out masses of CVs. I worked at a bank a few years back, and I dealt with a number of recruitment companies. And, then you get 40 CVs, and half of them make you wonder if they even looked at the spec, because it's not relevant. And I'd rather deal with somebody who really understands the need and sends me one or two candidates, and I'm almost conflicted between the fact that I want them both. So it's definitely a niche space. It's a space that's really filled with so many competitors, the recruitment space. But you have to rise to what you say. I like what you're saying, that consulting space. The challenge is also that a lot of recruiters don't have the necessary technical understanding to really guide the client. Is that what you see as well?
Yes. I mean, I say that with the knowledge that I am not technical myself. I grew up on a farm in Zim, as I said before, and I ended up finding my way to London, and I managed to find my way into this industry sector. I think I'm lucky in that I've had tenure in this particular space. So I've been recruiting for a long period of time for these types of individuals, and know someone who's good and someone who's not. But often a client says to me that question: how do you know if a candidate's good or not? And we, as non-technical recruiters, don't have the ability to look under the hood. We don't know how to qualify their code, or can't look at their code and understand, or whatever. And so what we rely heavily on is references, recommendations, and referrals, right? And so often, in this industry, there are many recruiters who don't employ those tactics, and there's a lot of spray and pray type of approach. And many people come from non-industry or non-technical related sectors, and so it takes them a while to kind of get up to speed, to have the knowledge or experience that I have in this space. So I feel sorry for them, but also I think it's a fault of recruiting entities globally, that not enough professional development training is done for recruiters. It is an actual professional industry, and a lot of recruitment companies are looking to get confident, entrepreneurial, young, enthusiastic, and energetic individuals who are good, or have good communication skills, and get them comfortable enough onto a phone, speaking to clients, and promoting the idea that they are, the specialist or a professional in the industry. Where, because the reality is that perception is reality, right? So if you promote yourself as a specialist to a candidate or to a client, they take you on on the value of your word. And a lot of the time, every recruiter says exactly the same thing or sounds exactly like every other recruiter. So for us, it comes down to delivery, right? It's the number one thing. If you deliver with a client, or if you say you're going to do what you're going to do for a particular candidate, then you've got credibility. And until then, there's still a question mark on you, even someone who has experience of tenure like myself. So I think often skilled and experienced recruiters are fighting against the grain of young, enthusiastic, ambitious individuals who come into recruitment, which is a sales environment, and are put on the phones and told that they have a sales target to meet, and that they need to push out candidates to clients in order to meet sales and to meet sales targets. Otherwise, there's the risk that they're going to lose their job. So when that starts happening, and you're getting towards the end of the month or end of the quarter, you start cutting corners, and quality then is at a cost. And as an industry sector, we then pay the price.
Yes. We often speak about customer experience, but it's also relevant, I guess, to speak about candidate experience in your space. So without giving away trade secrets, tell us a bit about potentially automating certain things. So why I'm saying that is, as a candidate with recruitment firms in the past, it's often been extremely frustrating that I don't know where I stand. I don't know if they've proposed me to clients, or I've sent in my resume and you just hear nothing back. You also need the candidate to have confidence you can help them. So again, without giving away secrets, but what are the things you do to help them in that regard?
So this is an interesting question, because it is something that I think a lot of people are misguided around. So when I first arrived here, I had a few interviews with a few recruitment companies who were keen for me to come and join them. And I asked them a question. I said, who do you place more value on? Is it your clients or your candidates? And to a man and woman, they turned around to me and said, no, we place obviously more value on our clients because they pay our invoices. And my thinking behind this is, well, if you don't have good candidates, you don't make placements, you don't get invoices paid. So surely your focus must be on the candidate. So good candidate retention strategies are vitally important in your recruitment program. A, because if you don't have a good quality resource, you're not going to make a placement. B, if you don't show good quality candidate management strategies, that candidate is probably not going to believe you or want to work with you. You may make the placement at the end of the day, you may make them get their job, but they'll remember the care and the quality of service that you gave them throughout the process. And it could be the factor in them doing business with you again. Now, candidates become clients. And so if you take care of your candidates, the likelihood is they will remember that. And once they become a recruiting source or a hiring manager or the like, well, then they'll remember the kind of service that you gave them, the quality of service, and they'll come back to you to try and hire for the people that they need to build their team. So I've always found that if you focus on building a relationship, you try and do it. You're not always going to get it right. There are, human frailties here within our industry sector where people dealing with people, and often it's one of the most highly intensified moments for a person. They're moving either job, or they've lost their job, or they're deciding to make a decision on a new career move. And these have massive impacts on not only their career situation, but their personal situation. Yes. And could be, and so, it is it's an intense moment to have to navigate through and to support someone through. And if you can do that right, and at the end of it, they can turn around to you and are really appreciative of the work that you've done, regardless of if the placement actually happens or not. If they can see that you've done as much as you possibly can on their behalf to try and engineer a successful outcome, they'll remember that. So I try and tell people that the focus should be on candidates and candidate care.
Okay. I think your trading stock, and we said earlier we don't want to speak about people like this, but it is people, and it's very niche skills. Are we producing enough of those skills in the local market? And I almost want to think the answer is most likely no. And what do you do about that problem? In other words, where do you find people? You most likely have more demand than candidates often, I would imagine.
So to your first question, are we producing enough talent? I think the I think no. Globally, that would be no. Locally, no as well. I know that there is firm movements in academia to try and engineer courses and degrees for people to engage in now, more so now than there was, in the years preceding this and moving up to now, to engineer candidates to move into these sort of data science, machine learning, AI related qualifications, so that when they come out of industry, they are primed to be sort of aligned with the needs of the market in that space. But the kind of need for and requirement for quality resource is growing bigger and bigger every day. And I don't think we're funneling enough talent into there. We're definitely making more waves towards that, but I don't think that we are, and this is globally as well, I don't think that we're going to be able to fulfill the demand, especially now given what's happened with COVID-19 and the kind of move towards more automation technologies, AI-related technologies. Most businesses are, realizing and maturing. If they already had an idea, that idea has matured dramatically. The realizations around we need to be adopting AI-related technologies, 4IR technologies, at a more rapid pace. And so you're going to need individuals who can come in, who know how to work with those technologies and know how to work with those value. Because as we discussed right at the beginning of this conversation, AI is just the tools that allow people to make better business decisions and to create better business value. And so you need people to be able to manipulate those tools. And so we need people to be able to come in once those tools are implemented, to be able to navigate through that in order to create value for business. So I think there's not enough, but there's definitely waves towards the right kind of initiatives within academia, at least.
Super. And I think it seems like it's not a concerted effort through business and government and academia, in my opinion. A few weeks back, I was at an event called Girls in AI. It was a global event. We had a local event happening here in Johannesburg. And there were a number of high school girls from underprivileged areas. And the thing that really kind of shook me, if you would, is that some of the girls in my mentoring group were some of the brightest teenagers I've ever met. But they most likely will never, ever be able to study. They'll most likely end up in some sort of a menial job one day. And it's heartbreaking to realize. And I know there's organizations that does work in the kind of preschool space on this kind of technology, teaching toddlers some elementary engineering or coding things, which is great. There's some that does it in high school. There's some that does it after high school or studies, but it doesn't seem that it's pulled together. People drop off. So some of the toddlers that show potential will never go through it again, or some drop off after high school. It's often financial pressure, things like that. So what would you say can we do better as an industry to produce that, if I might call it the end-to-end pipe, to produce these people that we need?
Look, I can talk to what I in terms of what we should be doing. I think there is definitely a justified argument to be said that more information needs to be spread at grassroots levels around the reasons for getting into these particular spaces. What lies ahead in our future, and where business is going to, so that young, enthusiastic minds who have an aptitude for technology, or who are keen to get into technology-related industry and roles in their future and their careers, can be aware to align themselves early on to begin to learn about these kind of technologies, and to kind of push themselves towards their kind of chosen career path really early on. We were having a conversation the other day about it. When I was at school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And, I was sitting amongst a few people who, from a very young age, were talking about how they were going to be doctors, and they were going to be lawyers, and they were going to be, accountants and the like. And it was because they had fathers or uncles or people who were already encompassing those particular roles, and so could see and hear and learn from a really young age about what these people did and where they created value, and it was interesting to them, and they were already at a very young age kind of orientating themselves towards those industry sectors. With the kind of, obviously, some of them might have changed their opinion along the way. I'm not sure, I can't tell you yes or no, but I think if you have information at a young age around what you can do and the value you can create and the influence you can have, and you can get excited about anything, then you can start again planning yourself from mentally towards those industry sectors. So I think it's important to get information at a grassroots level. When it comes to people in academia currently, one of the things that I say to them, you talk about people are dropping off, the little toddlers, and people are missing out in spaces and opportunities in jobs within the space. I think it's because they're not positioning themselves well enough, right? And so they come out of academia, they're enthusiastic, and their CVs all look the same, and they all go with the same intentions and with the same enthusiasm to these interviews and the like. But the reality is, you need to differentiate. You need to show yourself to be different from the rest. Now, I know that I'm saying this in a blanket statement, and probably everyone who hears this is going to go and do something, and so they're all going to be the same. But the reality is, you need to show what you've done and how you can add value, right? I think this is the thing. If you don't dress for the job that you have, or the CV that you have, dress for the job that you want. And so it's important to look at, if you're going to go into a manufacturing industry, for example, if you're having an interview for a manufacturing industry, and you're a wannabe data scientist, and you're enthusiastic, and you then I would suggest get your hands on some data, pick out a free algorithm that you can get online, build an application, but first look at the manufacturing sector, look at the job or the industry that you're going to or aligning to, and understand a business problem, or try to understand a business problem there, and then see if you can build an application in your own time that can maybe answer that question, right? I think if you can start to orientate your skills and your experience that you've learned in academia to answering business questions, you go to that interview and you can say, I know your industry, I've researched into it, I'm really enthusiastic about joining here, so much so that I did a little project in my own time, and this is what it did. It might create no value, but it shows the people that you're interviewing with that you've thought outside of the box, and you've thought about them, and you've thought about the problems that they faced, and this is the kind of person that they would want to come and join their business, because you will help them to solve problems going forward.
Yeah, it's such valuable advice that you're giving now. I've often the first question I ask when I interview candidates is, tell me about my business. And the wheels always come off, because they will recite 2 or 3 buttons on the website, and you can just see that they're just doing it from memory. But what is your understanding of what we do? Even if it's 2 sentences, you showed some interest. So it's imperative. So what I will do, Matt, I'll obviously add your website details to this video and to the YouTube video.
Sure.
Potential candidates that's interested to contact you, I assume there's a place on the website where they can submit their resumes. How do they reach out to you guys?
They can send it through. We have an email address that they can register their CVs through, which is info@ai-unity.com. And they're welcome to. What I try and say to candidates when they say to me, can I send my CV, is I say, yeah, absolutely. Send your CV through, but also talk to me about what you've done, right? So it comes back to that thing that we were talking about previously before. If you're a data scientist, talk to me about the algorithms that you've worked with, the machine learning applications that you've built and deployed into production. Are they still in production now? If they are, that's great. Talk to me about the kind of rands and cents and the percentages. Where have they maximized efficiencies, reduced costs, or increased new revenue or sales? Right? What is in any AI or data related environment, you kind of have to all become a data storyteller, right? You need to have a combination of good technical skills, but then you need to tell about the journey to the people that you're talking to. So again, it comes back to, if you're sitting in front of a technical person, a highly technical person, you can talk to the technical competence that you have, which is great. But typically you're talking to an HR person or a business owner or a leader who's maybe not technical but runs a technical business. And so you need to be telling the story of the data. Where did, the data sources that you incorporated in order to get to one singular version of the truth. And then, what did you create? What value? Where was the return on the investment of your time and your build? And if you can do that and you can relate that to what they do as an industry sector, then you are positioning yourself with a stronger value proposition than maybe 90% of the candidates that you're coming up against.
I really hope a lot of people will look at this video who are looking at, and whether it's AI or not, I think anything technical. And to your point, the people who are actually looking at recruiting, I think are sometimes maybe even a bit threatened by all this technology because they don't know. Excuse me, a while back I said to a candidate, tell me about what you can do, but you're not allowed to use the words AI, machine learning, robotic process automation, etc. And they had to fumble through it. Because they were not prepared. They can't, because it's fixing a business problem. We can call it anything we want to call it. What is the problem? And that's, I think candidates are not prepared. They've never been trained or schooled in really having that kind of approach, Matt. I assume the same is true for, sorry, do go on.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, so I worked for 7-8 months here in South Africa when I first got back for an end-to-end data solutions provider, helping them out with their sales. They'd just gone from, they were pretty much still in startup phase, but they'd grown from 8 to 32 people. And I was trying to champion their sales effort here in the Western Cape. And I would go out to clients and I'd showcase, some PowerPoint presentations or some dashboards of Viz, giving evidence of what, our data scientists had done before. And then clients would see the value and give us access to their data. And then we would track back and with the technical team, we'd build a solution that was, hopefully fit for purpose. And then we'd go and we'd sit and we'd present in a month or two to the client. And I just remember this one moment which gave, such clarity to this particular side of our conversation. Was one of the guys, highly technical, very, very bright guy, had built this highly intuitive solution and was so proud to showcase it to the COO and the CTO and a few of the other business leaders in this organization. And they sat there like deers in the headlight. And to the data scientist who built the solution, he was so proud of what he had done because he had used really sexy technology and it was highly intuitive and could deep dive. And I remember the COO just turned around and said, "It's all gone straight over my head. I haven't followed what you've said, and I'm on a quest for simplicity." Most C-level execs are on a quest for simplicity. They want to manage by exception. Give me my top 2 and my bottom 2. Help me to understand how to manage my business more effectively. And so you need to, if you're a data scientist or a machine learning engineer or a specialist in this field, you need to be able to relate your storyline, your information, the kind of core around your technology and the value that it creates to your particular audience. And I don't think enough is done in business now to educate highly technical people, because it's not where they're most comfortable. They're most comfortable sitting there at the coalface and building these solutions. You need to help them to understand, or you need to train people to be able to get their message across around how this is going to be creating value once it's implemented.
That's some important points that you've mentioned. Matt, this has been an incredible talk. I wish a lot of people, especially people aspiring to move into this kind of world of AI and machine learning, or people are looking to be more employable, would listen to the advice you've been giving. It's been valuable. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
And really would love to chat again. There's some subtopics that we touched on here that I think is worth another call or 5. So
I appreciate the platform and the opportunity to speak. I've enjoyed our conversation today as well. And yeah, if you'd like to set up another chat, I'm more than happy.
Super. Thank you, Matt. All the very best.
All the best to you too. Cheers, mate.